Why, hello there, I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. Today we are covering Hang In There, Scooby-Doo, which is the third episode of the Scooby-Doo show, and it originally aired on September 24th, 1977, as part of the Scooby's All-Star Laff-a-Lympics. In this episode, we see the gang attending a hang gliding competition that Freddy was invited to participate in. Here they discover a pterodactyl ghost that haunts the canyon caves. I have a pretty good joke. The joke is, why do you never hear a pterodactyl in the bathroom? And the punchline is, because it has a silent P. I always thought that joke was pretty funny. Not much trivia for this one, other than we see the pterodactyl ghost show up in Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Also, the entire run of Season 2. This is something I'll complain about forever. None of these episodes have been released as a complete series on DVD or Blu-ray. I wish Warner would get on this. These episodes are some of the best episodes of Scooby-Doo. They really need to be on DVD. They really need to be on Blu-ray. Warner, if you're watching, which I know you're not, otherwise you'd probably block all my videos and cancel my channel. But if you are watching, someone from Warner is watching, please make a series of these episodes, a complete episode DVD that I can buy and show on screen and promote and, maybe influence some people to maybe buy, because we really need this. We need some physical media for these episodes. Anyway, enough of my mini rant. Let's get on with my review. The episode begins with the gang driving up a big canyon towards a hang gliding tournament. Only the most experienced flyers are allowed to compete, and Freddy is one of those skilled athletes who was invited.
Wow! I can see why Big Canyon was chosen for this year's hang gliding tournament.
This weekend's contest ought to be terrific. Only the most experienced flyers were invited to compete.
Unbeknownst to the gang, unfortunately, a half-man, half-pterodactyl watches from above. The gang are spending the night at Big Canyon Dude Ranch, and it's incredibly quiet until they hear the shout of the pterodactyl ghost, who swoops towards them. The gang then takes shelter in a covered wagon and watch in fear until the ghost pterodactyl flies away.
Here's where we'll be staying for the meet. Big Canyon Dude Ranch.
It sure is quiet up here. A pterodactyl ghost!
He's heading this way! Take cover!
Inside the Dude Ranch, the gang meet the manager, Mr. Bohannon. Mr. Bohannon explains that millions of years ago, the canyon was filled with dinosaurs. Some people believe that the pterodactyls evolved into a man-like creature, which they saw the ghost of in such an example. They also meet Mr. Morbley, the muscular Dude Ranch handyman and bellhop.
Maybe the manager can explain that weird-looking ghost we saw.
So, you saw it too?
Right, Mr. Bohannon?
Well, millions of years ago, this canyon was filled with dinosaurs and pterodactyls. Some people believe the pterodactyls evolved into man-like flying creatures that inhabited the canyon caves. But of course, the dinosaurs and pterodactyls are long since dead. Don't be frightened. That's only my handyman, Mr. Morbley. Good night, kids. I'll see you in the morning. I hope. Pleasant dreams.
Mr. Morbley carries their luggage to their rooms, where Mr. Bohannon nervously wishes them a good night. During the day, the gang line up near the canyon edge where Freddy is preparing to glide.
Well, I'm all set.
After your flight, we'll start digging into this pterodactyl mystery.
Right.
Scooby accidentally takes flight after chasing a sandwich and glides through the canyons and into a cave.
Hang in there, Scooby!
What happened to Scooby?
He flew across the river and into that cave. Come on, we better get down there fast.
The rest of the gang wander off to find him. Inside the cave, the gang search for Scooby. Inside, they find cave carvings of the pterodactyl humanoids, along with fresh carvings of Scooby being confronted by the ghost creature with a clue that he's behind a wall. The gang swiftly finds Scooby, and Velma comments on how eager the monster is on scaring them away.
Come on, let's look in the cave.
Scooby! Scooby-Doo! Scooby! Come out, wherever you are!
Cave carvings.
Of primitive pterodactyl humanoids.
And look, fresh carvings on that monster. And Scooby!
It looks like he put Scooby behind a section of the cave wall.
Zoinks!
That monster's going to an awful lot of trouble to scare us away.
We're not leaving until we find out what's going on.
Going deeper into the cave, the gang find pterodactyl tracks and follow them to a Stone Age living room. They find multiple tracks and assume there are several creatures, so they split up to follow the various tracks. Freddy and the girls of course go one way and discover a secret passage, while Shaggy and Scooby immediately run into one of the pterodactyl monsters. Freddy and the girls soon hear music playing and find a tape cassette on the ground. They also discover Scooby and Shaggy being chased by the creature.
Can pterodactyls go through walls?
I doubt it. Let's have a look.
Jeepers, listen! Creepy music!
A tape cassette.
What is weird music in a tape cassette doing in a pterodactyl's cave?
We get a weird scene of a skeleton man running off that they meet. I found the scene a bit bizarre and out of place, as it certainly raises a lot of questions on if Shaggy was hallucinating or this skeleton man was something real.
Boy, am I glad to see you. You know, we thought this whole cave was haunted.
Haunted? Let me out of here!
The gang escape the cave system and drive off in the Mystery Machine, where they pop in the cassette into the tape deck. Here they hear the modern rock beats of Elvis John, which is a take on Elton John and Elvis Presley.
Yeah, that cassette doesn't even have a label on it.
Let's see what it is. Wow! It's Elvis John's latest hit single.
Back at the Dude Ranch, Mr. Bohannon explains that the cave drawings were ancient history and the cassette was probably dropped by an exploring hiker. The gang then hear the same weird music they heard in the cave, so they follow it. The music leads them to the basement where the music stops. Hiding, they see Mr. Morbly walk out of a room, so they follow him and discover a weird glow. It turns out Mr. Morbly was burning something, and when they look further, it turns out to be papers. Velma salvages a scrap, but there's not enough light at night to read it at the time. Freddy decides they should all head back to the cave and look for more clues.
Most of the caves here in the canyon have primitive carvings, and the cassette was probably dropped by a frightened teenager, and they seem like pretty slim clues to me.
But we're going to search for more clues tonight.
Take my advice, kids. Quit while you're ahead.
The same weird music we heard in the cave.
It's coming from the basement.
Yikes! The music stopped. It's Mr. Morbly.
It's only Mr. Morbly burning something.
He's going away.
Old Morbly was burning papers. There's not much left of it, Velma, but it might be a clue.
There are dozens of caves, but Freddy heads for the largest one at the top of the canyon. During their adventures, we get lots of chase scenes, and Daphne discovers a secret switch and a fake wall that was disguised as a cave-in. Behind the wall, they find a recording studio set up.
Hey, where are Shaggy and Scooby?
The roof must have caved in on them. Creepers! A secret switch! And a fake wall!
A room full of recording equipment.
Yeah, but what's it doing in this cave?
It looks like our prehistoric pterodactyl monster's becoming less primitive all the time.
Freddy takes the Mystery Machine down to a lower cave system and decides to set a trap by building a roadblock. The trap almost works, and they almost trap a pterodactyl driving Johnny's sandwich truck. The truck hits a bump attempting to escape, and dozens of cassettes and vinyl records fall out. Outside, they watch the pterodactyl escape on a rubber raft down the rapids.
I think this is where he was going when he saw us.
He may have flown in, but look, unless he has landing gear, someone else drove a car in.
Uh-oh, watch out!
Wow, the ghost was driving Johnny's sandwich truck.
But the truck wasn't carrying sandwiches. It was loaded with music tapes and records.
Look, he's escaping downriver in a rubber raft.
Thinking quickly, Freddy loads the hang glider up with Shaggy and Scooby, where they take chase.
Hang in there, there, Scooby?
In an exciting scene involving the rapids and the hang glider and Scooby and Shaggy getting involved with the Pterodactyl Ghost,
Hang on, Scooby-Doo!
they eventually capture the Pterodactyl Ghost. The local sheriff then shows up and the ghost is unmasked.
Who's the kooky bird, man?
This is Johnny, owner of a catering truck. But that was just a cover for his real operation.
A music pirating ring.
What's going on?
It turns out to be Johnny, the owner of the catering truck. He's part of the pirating ring where he was making bootleg copies of popular music on the cassettes and records. Before I explain the mystery a little more, can we all just take time to pause and appreciate how cute this scene is with Velma sandwiched in between these burly men of the sheriff and Mr. Bohannon? She looks adorable. She's so petite here, just very adorable and cute. I love this scene. Anyway, getting back to the mystery, Mr. Bohannon shows up and he's also placed under arrest. The gang explained he was the ringleader of the pirating operation where the engineers would bootleg the music in the cave system, then fly the music down by hang glider to the warehouses at night. They flew them down because it just saved a lot of time rather than driving down, I guess. They then drove the bootlegs to the store with the catering truck, more specifically Johnny's catering sandwich truck. The plan worked fine until the locals got curious about the hang gliders at night, so Mr. Bohannon dreamed up the Pterodactyl Ghost to scare everyone off. Velma proves their theory with a partial burnt invoice with a request for 3,000 albums and 3,000 cassettes with a payment of $12,000.
The music pirates made their recordings in an underground studio we found in an old cave above the ranch.
Then to save time crossing the river, Johnny would fly the records down to the warehouse on the other side in a special hang glider.
Then they deliver the bootleg tapes and records to stores with their catering truck.
It worked fine until folks spotted the hang glider flights and got curious.
That's when Bohannon dreamed up that phony pterodactyl legend to scare everybody away from the caves.
You have no evidence to tie me in with this.
Surprise! When Mr. Morbley burned the day's trash, we rescued part of this purchase order. To Mr. Bohannon, Big Canyon Dude Ranch. Please ship 3,000 albums, 3,000 cassettes, check enclosed, $12,000.
Bohannon, I'm taking you in.
Meddling kids. You ruined a perfect $1 million operation.
With another mystery solved, the gang head off on their next adventure.
Hang in there, Scooby! Hang in there, Scooby!
Hang on, Scooby-Doo!
I give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed this episode a lot. I just don't think it's as awesome as the other Scooby-Doo show episodes. So I'm kind of comparing this to the other Scooby-Doo episodes in this run, and I thought they were a little bit better. One of the reasons I just didn't love this episode, to give it 10 out of 10, although I do love the episode, it's a good episode, is that the mystery is a bit difficult to follow, as we're never introduced to Johnny other than Scooby and Shaggy making a sandwich at his truck at the beginning. We're never just introduced to this character, and I wish they kind of spent some time with that. I did enjoy the pterodactyl creature. I like the design, and I like how this took place in caves, and the gang were going in these spooky caves, and there's all these secret passages. But, this episode leaves a lot of loose ends. Like, we never figure out who drew the cave image of Scooby and the pterodactyl on the wall, or why it was even drawn. Scooby couldn't have drawn it because he was already behind the wall, so did the pterodactyl feel guilty about stealing Scooby-Doo and wanted to clue the gang into where he was, maybe? Maybe. And who was that skeleton man? I appreciate the gag, but what the heck? I found it so out of place. It's like, was this really a supernatural thing? Or was it part of their hoax to scare people away as well? It was just out of place. Although I did like it, it's just, I don't know what the heck that was doing in there. Also, why would the bootleggers need to hide inside a hidden cave? Like, I appreciate that they're doing this to kind of get away with their scheme. I could see if they're like drug runners or something highly illegal. But for like bootlegging records, why not just do it in your basement? I think it would cost millions, maybe not millions, but hundreds of thousands to get electricity running to a cave system and install all that equipment. And everyone's going to kind of see, like the electric company's going to go, why is there all this electricity being used here? Something's amiss. And yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to spend all that time building all these secret passages that run on electricity. you need some skilled architects and electricians and engineers and who can do all that without not being noticed, you know? You know, to get all that equipment in there especially. Still, I loved the atmosphere, and I loved how this pterodactyl creature was kind of half humanoid, half flying creature. I thought it was really cool how he flew and was probably using some sort of hang gliding equipment in his gear. And I liked the whole premise of this. I just wish it was a better mystery, better explained, better kind of set up. Anyway, that wraps up my review. I want to thank everyone for their likes, views, subscribes, shares. If you've hit that bell notification, that's great. Every video comes out Saturday morning. I have I do these in advance, so you know I got a couple months worth of reviews, so it should be consistently at like 6 o'clock Eastern time in North America where my videos come out. I've been doing this for a while now. If you're regular, you know the drill. Anyway, next week I will be covering the Ozark Witch Switch, which I'm finally happy to do. It's been a very requested episode for me to cover. Until then, stay spooky.